everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Boston Sports Nuts, America's new, hottest, most listened to, most watched, most everything TV show / podcast. So get on board because this thing is taking off. All right, I'm Ken Berman, joined by my good buddy right here in studio with me, Jim Russo. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing great, Ken. Looking forward to the show.
And with us all the way from Longboat Key, Florida, is Paul Izzo, sunning and funning while we're up here shoveling snow, Jim. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Nah, I'm just down here for a couple days, boys. I'll be heading back home soon, so don't you worry.
Well, we can't wait for you to get back.
Bring the warm weather.
Yeah,
I
bring
will
the warm
try.
weather
I will try.
and enjoy the warm weather while you're down there. But very interesting. We're getting to do a couple of shows with Paul while he's not in the studio. This is so cool. I love technology.
Yeah, we should thank Evan and the whole crew for
Yeah,
that.
thank Evan and the whole crew here at Westwood Media.
Charlotte, everyone.
Yep. Charlotte, everyone.
Yep.
I don't know anybody else's name off the top of my head, but that's probably my fault.
Well, we got Melinda.
Yeah, Melinda.
Melinda, that's true. She's the big boss around here.
Oh, okay.
So because of her, we get to do this show. So, hey, it's interesting. I'm going to get into the Celtics season here, a little review type of thing with the Celtics. But, I think back to that December-January stretch where it seemed like they played 500 ball for about a month, right? They were like 8-8, 9-8.
Yes.
And it seems like they've sort of rounded into a nice groove. But the question is, how do we think they're comparing to the other good teams, Jim and Paul, like, Cleveland and OK City and Lakers,
Yeah, I think the homestand was a very, 6 to 8 games, whatever it was a very interesting stretch for the Celtics. In that time period, they played 4 of the best teams in the NBA. Okay. So they basically started off with Cleveland and played a game where they were up 23 points, lost the lead, lost the game. Now they were out without KP and Holiday, and Cleveland, I think, had their top 10 players in that game.
Yeah.
It was a heck of a game. I think that if people didn't believe it before, they should believe it now. Cleveland is for real. Mm-hmm. They are a phenomenal team. They have 2 great big guys, one in particular in Evan Mobley. Their guards are not big, and that could be a problem in the playoffs, but they are both super quick.
Oh, yeah.
And Donovan Mitchell is a legit closer. Max Strus hits threes. The emergence of Ty Jerome.
Yep.
If he had played this way all year, he might be a 6th man of the year candidate as a bench player. And they have other really good bench players. And one of the keys with them, you can beat one big man, but there's a man behind them to block this shot. If the Celtics play them in the Eastern Conference Finals, it's going at least 6 or 7. And all I can say is the Celtics better be healthy. Healthy, they can do it. But if they're missing Porzingis or someone else, it's going to be tough for Cleveland.
Paul, thoughts?
Well, I'll start with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Teams that have these kinds of seasons are tough to beat.
Yeah.
They've had multiple winning streaks in excess of 10 games. They're beating really good teams on the road. They're a very, very difficult team to imagine. You got to get by them.
You got to beat them 4 times.
Got to beat them 4 times. The good news is the Celtics have played them well. They've been competitive in those games.
Yeah, it's 2-2.
Yeah.
And the 2 that we lost, we weren't at our best that night. I keep coming back. My take on the Celtics high level is this. If they have a healthy Drew Holiday and a healthy KP, they are very difficult to beat 4 times in 2 weeks. They're going to have at least 2 games where they make every shot. So now you have 5 games where you got to win 4 of them because they're going to go off twice with 45% shooting from 3. They'll just 3 you to death. So I think the Celtics are still, to me, the favorite in the whole league. But as my good friend Jim Russo always says, tell me who's healthy. If
Right.
Drew Holiday gets over this finger issue and his shoulder is okay, and KP can play 28, 32 minutes, they're very tough to beat.
Yeah.
Very tough to beat.
Yeah. I think we've said this many times. I know I've said this to you guys that a lot of times in the NBA season, when a team dominates from game one through the season, like Cleveland has, they're pretty good chance to make the finals. They have played better than the Celtics this year. They've been more consistent. They've been the better team overall. They've had two winning streaks of 15 games plus.
Right.
That is an incredible stat in this NBA. So I think if the Celtics are healthy, I would like to see them get the whole team actually play there's only 13 games left in the season, I believe, at this taping. I'd like to see the Celtics get 7 or 8 games where everybody plays together again. It might not be that important because they're veterans and they've had, some time together the last 2 years, but it wouldn't hurt
Yeah.
to get a little consistency with that group.
Yeah, I agree with you on Cleveland. I was trying to find my stats. I'm now dubbing what you said, as you know, the Berman theory. And I did a little research, and of course, I forgot to bring it.
Yeah.
My apologies, but it is amazing the teams that win 65, 64 or more games, how often they win the title.
Yep.
Now, Cleveland's lost 2 in a row, but it still looks like they can win 64, 65.
Yep.
So I'm calling that the Berman theory
Thank
because,
you.
as far as I know, you were the first to raise it on
Okay.
Boston Sports Nuts.
Yes.
So when we refer to the Berman theory, that's it. And the
Credit.
Celtics, by the way, have several examples of their own.
Yeah.
86. They would have won in 73, as we all know, when they won a franchise record 68 games, but John Havlicek got hurt. So the one thing I would say about Celtics going off twice, shooting wise, that could be a pretty fair assumption. The one team they will have really difficulty doing that with is OKC. They played Oklahoma City, and I have to say, from start to finish, although the game got tied in the fourth quarter, I thought Oklahoma City controlled the game. I never for a minute said at the end of this game the Celtics are going to win. And I just felt Oklahoma City controlled the pace. I think their defense is outstanding. They have 2 bigs with Holmgren and Hartenstein. They have a phenomenal player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who it looks like will wrest the MVP trophy from Jokic. They're the best defensive team in basketball. They play phenomenal defense. And for those who don't follow OKC a lot, yes, the Celtics were missing Porzingis in that game. Oklahoma City was missing Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams is the other god with Shai and is a phenomenal basketball player. So they were missing a star. This is another team that is operating under the Berman theory. They have the potential to win 63, 64 games. They're doing it in a phenomenally tough conference that they're doing this in. So I think the Celtics play them in the finals. I'll say what I said about Cleveland. 1, they're for real. 2, they better be healthy. They better be healthy.
Paul, thoughts on OKC?
I agree with Jim. 2 years ago, the Celtics played OKC in Boston. I took my son to the game. I said, I'm not sure I'd want to play these guys in the finals. That was 2 years ago.
Right.
They're just so quick. I think their defense is really what stands out when you play them.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
There's great offensive players all over the NBA. They're everywhere. Almost every team has a couple of great offensive players, but they play stifling defense. They play as a team. They have really good camaraderie. We're not there yet to start talking about finals matchups,
Right.
I would be a little concerned about them climbing that ladder too high. I believe in the ladder in the NBA. You lose a conference final, then you lose a final, then you win a final. The Celtics are clearly have gone up the ladder. They've lost Eastern Conference Finals. They lost finals. They finally made it to the finals. They won the finals. Oklahoma's kind of jumping those steps. The fascinating thing about Oklahoma is they're not only a great young team, they have a ton of draft picks.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And
Yeah.
and Lepresti has done an unbelievable job with that team, and they're poised to be a dynasty. Now we've seen before them screw it up. They had Westbrook, they had Harden, they had Durant, they didn't win anything.
No, they got beat
So
by
yeah,
LeBron in the finals, that team.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got to win at some point if
Oh,
you want
yeah,
to be.
yeah.
You got to win.
Well, they let Harden
And
get away.
they're special and they're tough and they're young and they're quick and that's
Well,
a rough match. The Celtics when they play these teams that are quick and healthy, one night it's the Knicks, next night it's Oklahoma. They struggle. They struggle a little
um,
bit.
uh, OKC, just like you said, Cleveland has dominated from day one of this NBA season. They also have a guy in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander who's going to be the MVP, who is almost unstoppable, but just as good on defense.
Right. Right.
I mean, this kid plays defense
Yeah.
after scoring about 32 a game on an average. So, by the way, Vegas still has the Celtics winning going by the odds, winning the NBA title. I believe it's only the other thing about Cleveland and OKC is I think they're the only teams with better road records
They are.
than the Celtics.
They are.
So, it's not like you get them in your building and you got any advantage.
No.
And vice versa, because the Celtics are a
Yeah.
great road team too. But listen, if the Celtics are healthy, do I think they have a good shot at winning it? Yes. Would I be shocked if it was OKC and Cleveland in the finals? Not at all.
No. And to piggyback something Paul said, one of the storylines, the big storylines, and would you say, Ken, like 17 games left, something like that?
13. I think.
13, okay. One of the big storylines for the last 13 games of the NBA season is the Philadelphia 76ers and how many games they lose. And the reason is if they do not finish in the bottom six, let's say they finished seventh from the bottom, okay? And that holds in the lottery, all right?
Yeah.
Guess who gets their pick? OKC. Seventh pick in a very good draft, according to
Right.
people. There's three really good players at the top, and it keeps getting good. So, yeah, my thing with OKC, you better get them now. You better get them now if you're going to get them. The other two teams the Celtics played during this stretch, and by the way, one last thing on OKC, Celtics 0-2 and lost a 22-point lead in OKC.
Right.
A team this year that they've beaten twice is a team with the best player in the world, is the Denver Nuggets. And Boston's played two good games against Denver. They've really now Gordon didn't play in that game, but the Celtics were missing people too.
Yeah.
Gordon's a big part of their team because he's in the dunker spot, and him and Murray of all people really take advantage of the tremendous skill of Jokic. I think they're still a threat. I think if they've lost depth pieces,
Yeah.
because they didn't want to go into the second apron like the Celtics did from their championship team. That has hurt them.
Yeah.
Although Christian Brown has become a really good player.
Yeah.
Can they win the West? Yes, but if they play OKC, I would have to take OKC. I think their defense is too good. And I think that the Celtics, again, it would be 6 or 7, but the Celtics, I can't believe I'm going to say this, I would almost rather see them play Denver if they happen to make the finals than OKC.
Oh, I agree with that, Paul. What about you?
Yeah, I think at this point I'd rather play Denver. I know my only begotten son disagrees,
Yeah,
but
right.
but
And he
but
knows his stuff. He knows his
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
for those that don't know him.
Yeah.
he's
He
become
knows his stuff.
almost on the level with you two knuckleheads in terms of basketball knowledge.
Yeah, he is
if not
unbelievable.
surpassing it in some ways. But no, Denver's got a real problem with depth. They're the best team in the league when
Right. Jokic.
Jokic is on the floor, and arguably among the worst when he's not. That's
Right.
not an exaggeration, by the way.
No, that's
For our
true.
folks watching us, their statistics when he's not on the court are really extraordinarily bad.
Yeah.
Their production. So yeah, can we get back to just talking about the Celtics for a minute?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sure.
I think I really believe that basketball has become almost too much of a year-round sport. You think about these guys, they play 82 games. When they're not playing, they're in the gym. It's the culture they come from. It's a year-round sport.
Hmm.
And then in the summer, they play summer ball. And in the case of the Celtics, they played all the way in. They not only have played a lot of basketball this past year, but they've played a lot of basketball in the last 3 or 4 years. They've gone deep into the playoffs ever since the bubble, 4 or 5 years now.
Yep.
Then they play summer ball. In the last year, 3 or 4 of them played on the Olympic team. Other guys are getting up there in years with injuries. KP, Al Horford, other guys. They've played a lot of basketball, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of what we've seen this year is the result of just being worn down a little bit. Just being
Yeah.
worn down a little bit. I mean, we used to talk about John Havlicek, and we still say, oh, he played 44 minutes a game when he was 37 years old. Yeah, but in the off season, he sold insurance. He wasn't running up and down the streets of Boston for 3 months. He got a rest.
Yeah.
And I think these guys play so much that it wouldn't surprise me if this year has been a little bit about let's just get everybody healthy, get to the playoffs, and trust that we can turn it on. Now, having said that, they've still had a good year. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh
No, they
yeah.
have.
They've had a
They've
great. They're
had a
having.
good year.
They're over
They just haven't
700.
had the eye-opening, eye-popping year that
That they,
Cleveland and Oklahoma have had.
which
Yeah,
is
they're
what.
not going to win 60.
Right. Which is what they had last year.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they dominated from day one and won the championship. Jim, there was one other team that we were going to. Oh, by the way, I'd much rather play Denver than OKC. No doubt about it. If we're healthy and Denver's healthy, I think we have just more players than they do.
Yeah. The other team, and I'll actually expand it to two teams. Since the trade deadline and before LeBron James's injury, two teams really took off. And they happened to be, what Charles Barkley went after ESPN for, which is favoring these two teams. But that's subject for another day, is
Good for
the
him.
Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. So I'll just lump them together. We've gone over the Doncic trade. So did it make them better? Yeah. And the amazing thing was they played better defense.
I don't get that.
Yeah, no one gets that. However, I still think they're a summer free agent signing away from winning the title. I don't see them getting by Denver and OKC. Hopefully,
Yeah.
Lakers are only one behind, but they have improved, and they're going to be really tough when he comes back for either Denver or OKC to play with two players like that.
And Austin Reeves.
Oh my God! As Frank Isola continuously says, how did Dallas not get Austin Reeves in that trade? You giving up Luka Doncic. But anyway, the other team is Golden State, who before they went into a little slump, it was like 14-2 or something with Jimmy Butler or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, I think they've improved. I don't see them getting by the big two.
No,
I don't.
I don't either. Those teams are good. I would say one thing: if somehow or another the Lakers got to the finals
Oh,
and we had to play them, and I had to watch Doncic and LeBron
Oh.
together every night, whatever little bit of hair that's not gray right now would be gray by the end of the series.
yeah, I hear you. As far as the Celtics go,
Yeah.
my impression of the team right now is they're rounding into shape very nicely. I think they are.
Yeah.
They're starting to rest people. I think one of the issues to look for in the last 13 games, Jason Tatum, I believe, has played 62 games. He needs 3 more to qualify for NBA teams for awards.
He'll get that.
He'll get that easily. Jaylen Brown's a different story. I don't know exactly how many games, but he needs a decent amount of games. And I think he can benefit for some rest.
Yeah.
Tatum can benefit some rest, and Joe has rested him twice, and Tatum likes to play every game, to his credit.
Yep.
And KP, coming off the illness, frankly, has looked very good the
Oh, yeah.
last 2 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought he's had 2 excellent games. Holiday had a good game last night.
Yeah.
I think one of the big question marks right now on the team is Sam Hauser. I know he's battled injuries, but we haven't had those Hauser-like games off the bench. And
Not consistently.
no, not consistently. So maybe he'll turn it around. But I like the way they're rounding into shape for the playoffs. And the one thing I would say is just make sure you stay ahead of the Knicks. And it's not for home court. You know, they're lined up to play them in the second round. It's not for home court. It's for the first round. If they finish second, they're going to get a play-in team.
Right.
If they finish third, they're going to get Detroit. Detroit is very good. Cade Cunningham is a great player. Let's play the play-in team.
Yeah. Paul, any other thoughts on that?
Well, I want to start with Hauser because you and Sam Hauser's having the same season statistically that he's had the last 3. You know, he's shooting 40% or better from 3. He's having off nights defensively, some good nights defensively. The problem with Sam Hauser is that he's not nearly as good as the guys that play ahead of him. So when he comes out onto the court, it's easy to say, well, he missed this defensive assignment. He got beat off the dribble. He didn't he didn't switch properly. He's not a star. Also, I think the emergence of Peyton Pritchard as someone who can play well into the 20s in terms of minutes per night has taken some opportunities away from him. I mean, Pritchard is now like an NBA star. They talk about him on the radio. They talk about him on the morning drive with Frank and Brian. They talk about him on ESPN. I mean, he's a star player, a young 6th-man star in the NBA. Sam Hauser isn't. I think a more interesting question is a more interesting thing to look at is how much time will Queta get in the postseason? Because if Al's can't play a lot of minutes every night, night after night after night after night. Do you see Cornette and Quater getting time in the postseason, Jim?
Cornette will.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Cornette
played
gets
well
more than
enough.
Cada. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Joe likes Cada in certain matchups where there's a lot of switching. He does. It's not that he switches better, but he plays the guards better a little
better,
bit.
yeah.
But I think Cornette will play. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I
thing
do.
about Hauser is, and again, in this era, this is not the right thing to say. I get it. It's the eye test for me.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think we would need your esteemed son, Paul, to do an analysis of Hauser's games where, to me, against the better teams, he's just not shooting what he did last year coming off the bench. And some of his stats are being piled up against weaker teams. Now, you're absolutely correct. He's not a star, and I think you make a great point with Pritchard. Pritchard's emergence, I think, is cut into his time because I think last year, Hauser would have got some of Pritchard's time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Well, I just looked it up. Excuse me. I just looked it up. Hauser's down 3 minutes from last year per game.
Yeah.
That's a lot. He's
That's
gone
a
from
lot.
23 to 20.
Yep.
I think there's a reason for that. I think there's 2. One is Pritchard, but the second one, given a lot of the injuries,
Yeah.
I've seen Joe pull him faster. Now, Hauser's defense, the man works hard. Let's give him credit. And by the way, I still like Sam Hauser. I'm
Yeah, me
glad
too.
he's on the team.
Yeah.
I just hope he has some big games, I guess.
Yeah, I would go with I was going to say the same thing as you, Jim, about him. The eye test this year seems to me a lot less consistent. Obviously, some games he's gone off for 7 for 9 from 3 and stuff like that. But offensively, I like his hustle.
Oh, I do
His
too.
work
I do
ethic.
too.
I like how much effort he puts in on the defensive end. So I'm a Sam Hauser guy.
Yeah.
And he will get minutes in the playoffs. He will get minutes.
Oh, he absolutely will get minutes.
And if he can make some shots, it's a huge, that's a huge deal for the Celtics.
It is huge.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any other team
No.
we need to worry about. I'll take the Celtics, although I'm scared of everybody. I'll take them playing anybody as long as we're in the finals. How's that?
Yeah.
I'll take the finals. Get us in the finals. I'll be happy.
I
I'll lose
think
my
we're
mind.
missing.
Go
I think
ahead.
we're missing the big story on the Celtics.
Which is?
Jaylen Brown's not having a great year. He's not.
No, he's not having a great year.
All right, so let me just tell you, okay? So for his career, he's shooting percentage is around 48%. This year, it's around 45%. Last year, it was 50%.
Yeah, he had a great year
Okay.
last year.
His career three-point percentage has been consistently around 36%. This year, it's 31%.
Yep.
Okay. He's playing more minutes than he usually has throughout his career, the most, and he's less productive than he's been. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the first 2 or 3 games he went off because I remember saying, "Oh boy, he's
Yeah.
mad he didn't make the Olympic team."
Right. Yeah, he had a
But
good
since
beginning of the
then,
season.
he's had a lot of off nights.
Mhm.
He's been a little banged up. They need him at his best.
Absolutely.
They need him at his best.
Yeah, I think he is banged up. I think these games he's missing are proof of that. I think he has made an adjustment in his game, given the poor shooting percentages. He is really bullying people getting to the rim this year,
Yeah.
more than I've ever seen him. And I think he's less productive because, as Paul cited, the 3 points, those are not falling.
Yeah.
But he's really getting to the rim. He's made a conscious effort to make the all-defensive team. I don't know if that's taken some of his energy on offense or not, but I mean, he is consistently asking for the best player.
Yeah.
But yeah, they need him. They need him to be at his best to win
Yeah.
the title, no question.
Yeah.
He's rebounding less than he has in 7 seasons per game.
Um,
He's down below 6 rebounds a game, which you have to go back to his second or third year to see a number like that on his stat
Interesting.
sheet. I still like the guy, but I'm
Oh, yeah.
sorry. I gotta bring up salary. If you're gonna be the highest paid player in the league, you gotta produce. That's me. I don't know. Maybe it's me.
Yeah.
I
Well,
making $1 million a
I
week.
think the option for the Celtics is he worth every single last dime? But is it worth it not having him? They don't win it without him.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to give him the max, although the Celtics could give him the most. I suppose they could have held out for what another team could have given him, but I don't think it was worth it. And by the way, Curry makes the most this year. Tatum's going to make more next year. Brown's salary is as amazing it is going to dip. When Shea comes up again,
Oh, yeah.
Jokic comes up again,
They're going to pass him.
Doncic is up this summer.
Well, yeah, but you could say that about anybody. I'm just saying that right now he is being compensated as the elite of the elite. Just right now.
Oh, he's not. And I think, but I guess
And
my point is
certainly this year he isn't playing at that level.
no. But I guess my point is it's not a disagreement with you. It's another fact. The Celtics knew that. And they had to make a judgment of, are we better with him? And is it really worth the risk to argue over, and I hate to say this, but, $5 million. It's, it's the Celtics, I would be, but, and they said no. I think they knew exactly what you were saying, Paul, and this is what they're getting. And it's unfortunate he's having a down year because, as you said, Ken, last year he was great.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll have a great playoff again.
Right. A down year or not as good as last year is still pretty good.
Yeah.
He's averaging about, I think, 21, 22 a game, something like that. He takes very few three-pointers this year. I'd say his three-point attempts are way down.
Like I said, he's he's bullying his
He's-
way, and I say bullying in a good way, in the NBA way, not real bullying.
Right.
His way to the rim far more, and you can really see his strength this year.
Now, if you ask Scal, he loves that Brown changed his game a little this year to
Yeah.
be what he calls a playoff 2 feet type of guy.
Yeah,
And it has given them a little bit more of a low post
yeah,
at some point.
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm still glad we have him. But yeah, does he make money that means he should be better than SGA? Yeah, but that's not the reality.
No,
But still good. Okay. Hey,
not.
can we switch gears?
sure.
Believe it or not, baseball actually has opened up and started. The Dodgers have swept the Cubs in Japan. That must have been something for the Japanese to have Otani over there and stuff, huh?
And the new pitcher.
And the new
He
pitcher.
started the second game.
Yeah.
And Yashimoto pitched opening day.
And baseball, I believe, begins on the
27th. for the Sox.
27th
Yeah.
of March in Texas. But, they've been playing some ball down at JetBlue, South, Red Sox South. And I don't know, how about overall thoughts on the roster going in? I'll start with you, Paul, going in to this season, coming out of spring training. What do you think
Well, there've
about
been
it?
some, yeah, I mean, there've been some interesting stories about where is Devers going to play in the field? Is this kid Campbell going to break the lineup? Is Casas going to have his head in the game this year? I remember when we first debuted the new version of Sports Nuts. We talked about it. Oh, we have depth at starting pitching. No, you don't.
I don't see it.
Golito's down. All sorts of guys are down. They're hurt. They're not sure when they're going to be available. I mean, this is just getting so tiresome. All this money tied up around baseball with players that don't play at all. And I still say it. I'll say it till the day I shuttle off this mortal coil. What other industry pays people 25 million a year to do nothing? Hollywood doesn't, TV doesn't. CEOs have to deliver or they get fired. Baseball has so much dead money. The Red Sox have it. Trevor Story recently was named worst contract in baseball. The guy's making 140 million, barely ever plays.
No production.
So this year, let's at least see guys that can play, even if they're not your best guys.
Right.
Let's get a lineup and I turn it on. By the way, I'm not turning on Nesson because of this new Fakakta sports channel thing they have where you have to sign up for all these channels and pay extra money. I'm getting rid of Nesson. I'm not giving him my money.
Yeah, same here. I don't have Nesson either anymore.
Can I just, I'll run down a few stories.
Yeah, go ahead,
that
Jim.
As basically predicted on Boston Sports Nuts,
Mm-hmm.
the Devers thing was, I know one of us disagreed, but was basically much ado about nothing because he's going to DH. He changed his tune for all the reasons we cited. Now, again, the idea that a lineup is static for 162 games
hasn't happened ever.
Ever. So he could be in the field the third game. Who knows? Okay. Second story, I think, unfortunately, is Christian Campbell has not seized that second base position.
Yeah.
He's not hitting. If Campbell, Marcelo Maya, or Roman Anthony are not going to start, there is no reason to have them on the team at their age. They need the reps in Worcester. So, maybe I'll go. I haven't been to that new park in Worcester, Polar Park. For the time those three are there, they're going to be an interesting team to watch. A positive development is Abreu in right field.
Yeah.
Looks like he'll start opening day, which they were questioning about. That's a good news from the injury front. He's a Gold Glover. He can hit.
Yeah.
It gives us a phenomenal defensive outfield. Back to Paul's point about pitching. They had a 5-man starting rotation. It is now down to 2.
I know that Bayo Giolito is out. Who else is out?
Bayo Gil and Cutter Crawford.
And Cuttercroft.
Pitched the most innings on the team last year. So it's now down to 2. They are not alone. The Yankees have lost Cole for the whole season.
Yep.
They've lost another pitcher for 3 months.
Yep.
The Orioles lost Burns to free agency, who was their ace. to the point where the man who was voted Sports Writer of the Year by this program, Chad Finn, I read his column this morning. He feels the Red Sox have a good chance to win the American League East, which surprised me because I really respect him and his writing. So
Call Vegas.
yeah. So those are the stories that have grabbed me. And I think it's almost, Ken, what you were saying about the Pats. It's more interesting this year. And until proven otherwise, I'll be interested in the team. It's more interesting.
Yeah, I hope so. It seems to me like they still need a lot of help, but
Oh, they do. I'm just saying what you said about the Pats.
right, exactly. Yeah, they need play. Right. I guess we could be a little more optimistic. But when I find out 3 starting pitchers are already, by the way, a lot of the stories I've heard from around spring training seems to be centered around all these guys that get hurt during spring training.
Yeah.
Don't they? What are they? Why, Paul? Why? Why?
Dr. Izzo.
The game of baseball has changed dramatically. The attention to weightlifting and working out has played a role in it. The fact that the human body was not meant to throw baseballs at the speed these guys are throwing baseballs at.
Yeah.
The fact that pitchers are encouraged to go all out. They didn't used to do that. I mean, Christy Mathewson wrote a famous book around 1915 called Pitching in a Pinch.
Yeah.
And his argument, the whole point of the book was, when do you throw your best stuff? You don't throw it the whole game. That's gone. I mean, 110 years later,
Right.
they go out there, they throw maximum velocity every pitch. And I don't know what baseball can do about it. I'm not sure there is anything that can be done about it. You would have to change the game in some way, make it easier for pitchers, but then they would still be encouraged to throw as hard as they could. Max Scherzer has talked about a new rule that would encourage teams would lose the DH if they took their starter out before 6 innings.
Yeah.
There's interesting things like that you could do to try to change the mindset of the starting pitcher, but I don't see it changing. I
Yeah.
really don't.
Any other interesting thoughts on the Red Sox that we're missing? I'm excited that opening day. From age 5 on, I'm excited for opening day. I always am. I'm so glad they're playing in Texas to stop the season and not Fenway.
All right. I'll give you one more story.
Yeah.
Pardon the pun, Trevor Story.
Yeah.
No, the other story to me is the Red Sox have the potential to have a tremendous left side of the infield to go with their tremendous, I'm talking on defensive outfield. Can both of them stay healthy, especially Story? Because Dave O'Brien used to say all the time last year, and he's right. When Story played, boy, what a difference he makes.
On defense. Yeah.
Because now we're back to who plays short.
Right.
The other reason I think Alex Cora is so fed up with watching that porous defense for 2 years, which is another reason I never thought this Devers thing would become much of a problem. He's going to love watching those 2 guys, but how long is he going to be able to do it for? I don't know.
I think Bregman will play a lot. I have no idea what is going to happen to Story, but something is going to happen to Trevor's Story. But yeah, in outfield defense.
Oh, come on. You got Duran, who's improved
Playing
light
left.
years, who could easily play center now.
Right.
You got Raffaello, who's a Gold Glove candidate in center, and you got the Gold Glove Abreu, who played in the toughest right field in baseball, yet still won the Gold Glove. That's shades of Dwight Evans. I'm not saying he's Evans, but that is shades of Dwight Evans winning in the toughest right field in baseball.
Yeah. Seems like a much better team, Paul, doesn't it?
Look, the Red Sox are going to try to get into the wild card.
Yeah.
They might sneak a division title in. I don't see it.
I hope
I don't
so.
see it. I'm
either.
sorry. I know Garrett Cole is hurt, but I'm definitely show me when it comes to the Red Sox right now.
Yeah, really. Hey, big news in Boston sports. I remember the three of us sitting around in the cave back in 2011 when the Bruins won that last Stanley Cup. Brad Marchand was a 23-year-old kid, really, being a pain in the neck to Vancouver, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And here we are in 2025. Now, he had already been a Bruin for 3 years before that, I believe. And he's been a mainstay on this team since he got on the team. And he got traded away at the deadline this year. You know, have no idea if it's good or bad. I don't know the NHL enough to know how they did or what they did. But, you know, now that Bergeron's gone and now Marchand's gone, that seems to be like the last team I had a connection to. So, I don't know, your thoughts on that? I'm sort of sad that he's gone, but, you know, it was probably the right move, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, a classic Bruin.
Yep.
Great for the organization. The city loved him. Still a decent player.
Yeah.
But like the Patriots, the Bruins are in a massive rebuild.
Yeah.
And having a guy like Brad Marchand, who, you know, really should be at this point in his career, I mean, ideally third line for a cup contender, as you said, that could create,
Havoc.
So we'll see. He's a free agent after the summer. We'll see how long he stays with Florida. Hopefully he plays 50% of the playoff games because then the pick gets moved up to 1 for the Bruins. But, you know, hats off to Brad Marchand, a tremendous Bruin.
Yeah.
And, yeah, sad to see him go, but he really didn't have a role here, and I think they had to move on.
You know, Marchand was sort of the last connection that Bruins fans had to that great team of 15 years ago that finally won a cup in 2011. He was sort of the last man standing, actually was the last man standing.
Yeah.
He sort of symbolized a lot of what people like to think about the Bruins, that they're not only talented players, but there's a certain amount of toughness and grit and all that stuff. I think the more interesting question, I mean, so, you know, we celebrate his career and all that, but are the general managers competent on that team?
Huh.
They have not drafted well in recent years. There's always been that little bit of a stink about how much money they're willing to spend or they're allowed to spend. Is Jeremy Jacobs going to allow them to spend? They have a very loyal fan base, very, very loyal. That's going to stick with them no matter what. But would it shock you if they sneaked into the playoffs and made a run, because that just is the way the NHL works?
Yeah,
It's
it would
just-
shock me because I think you
It's
got to
just
be
weird how that works.
you got to
Yeah.
be pretty good, and I don't think they can make the playoffs. One thing, they were booed the other night when they lost 6-2, and the longtime legendary Globe hockey writer Kevin Paul DuPont brought up the question Paul did about the GM and president,
Absolutely.
whatever Neely's position is, and says, Jeremy Jacobs, not a hockey guy. His view of hockey is shaped by those two guys. And if they don't come through and rebuilding this team, what happens? Does Jacobs make a move?
Yeah. They really have a lack of talent
Yeah.
in that team right now.
And they haven't
as well.
drafted well, like
You're
the
right.
Patriots.
But one thing about Marchand, I thought he was a really great player for a lot of years.
Yeah.
He's had a great career. He's a really good hockey player.
And also, he was on one of the best lines in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yep. So anyway, sad see him
Yeah.
go, but I don't know if we have a little more time left. The NCAA tournament. You ever hear of that? March Madness?
Yeah.
Well, it's here, sort of. It's started up. I, I follow a couple of teams, as you know,
Yep.
because I have a connection to them. Besides that, I love the tournament. I love March Madness. I haven't sort of geeked up yet, though. I'm not all worked up yet about it for some reason. So, but it's here and it's starting. Any thoughts on the tournament?
Yeah, I just briefly would like to talk about it in this context. It's coming to Providence, and I know this
All
is
right.
Boston Sports Nuts, but
Close enough.
Close enough.
We're big Providence guys.
The games are sold out.
Great city.
They've been sold out for a while. And I think they were supposed to be there in 2020, the COVID year, and they weren't. But they're back. They've been here before. It is great when they come in. The city gets alive when they come in.
Sure.
They've had some legendary games there. Princeton almost beat Georgetown there.
Remember that.
Danny Ainge put himself on the national stage there with Brigham Young. But anyway,
drive.
just very briefly, Providence kind of got lucky. They got some legendary coaches this year in the draw. So let's start with Bill Self at Kansas is coming.
Yeah.
This is a guy who produces one of the best programs in the country. Former national title holder, beat PC in the Sweet 16 the year he won the title. And he's bringing in his team, which is not the best team he's ever had.
No.
But they're still a good team. And he matches up with former UMass coach John Calipari
That's right.
in the first round on Thursday.
Can I ask one question? Is Bruce Pearl here?
No.
Oh.
Okay. Calipari, as people know, left Kentucky. He's coaching Arkansas, got him into the tournament. So we got Calipari against Self, with the winner probably playing. Now, I thought he'd come to Providence. Former Providence College head coach Rick Pitino, who like Pitino, don't like Pitino, are indifferent about Pitino.
No, don't like.
Has done one of the most remarkable coaching jobs, almost as good as he did Providence. He is 30-4 this year. He won the Big East by 3 games in the regular season. He won the Big East tournament. This is his second year with St. John's. They were at the bottom. That program had bottomed out. He's turned it around in 2 years, okay? Their defense causes an incredible amount of opportunities for them because they do not shoot the three well. I know you're not a Pitino fan.
No, but he's all his teams.
But you might like the fact they don't shoot a lot of threes.
Right, but he's always caused a lot of turnovers.
And by the way, they're not good at shooting threes either, which is
Right.
the ultimate irony because when he coached PC, he was like the first college coach that took advantage of it. Defense creates more possessions. Louise is a great player. I watched him in the Big East tournament. He's really, really good. This is a potential Final Four team. And I will be rooting for St. John's to come out of that sub-regional in Providence. I get what Pitino did to the Celtics, but when you go to Providence College and a guy comes in for 2 years and gets you in the Final Four,
Absolutely.
we're not Duke. So, very interesting bracket in Providence.
Paul, your thoughts on the upcoming NCAA tournament?
Well, I don't like to talk about things that I don't follow. We lost our banner. I enjoy watching the tournament. I have to say, I don't like the fact that the courts all look the same. I think that is just the most dreadful idea that's ever been adopted in the history of sports.
Yeah.
Because it was
I
fun
agree
to
with
look
you.
at all the different courts and see all the different styles and the parquet of Boston, the this, the that, the other thing. It was really, really special to do that. That was part of the fun. But it's going to be a number 1 or a number 2 seed that's going to win. All this other stuff it's funny. They set those things up in the first round on purpose. They're hoping they want Pitino in Providence. They want a Calipari potential matchup against Pitino. They think about these things, and
absolutely,
that's to their
TV,
credit.
baby, TV money.
Yep, it's all about TV.
It's all about TV.
It's a great TV show.
It seems like this year I watch some college basketball. I don't watch as much as I used to years ago, mainly because the best players are only there for 1 year and then they're gone. But the only name I really know is Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, Cooper Flagg, as people around here know, Brian Scalabrine is very close with him. He's an incredible player.
Yeah.
He should be in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
He could easily play in the NBA this year. He got hurt. He missed the last 2 games of the ACC tournament. They expect him back for the NCAA. It would be a real shame if he doesn't play. He'll be the number 1 pick in the draft. he has the potential to be a generational player. He's a phenomenal player.
Yeah. Do you guys think the NCAA tournament has lost any of its luster because none of the good players stick around
Yes,
more than
but
a year?
yes, but everybody likes to do a bracket. Now, the ratings, the women's final game outdrew the men's
Yeah.
last year because of Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
But I mean, was it more fun when Bill Walton was playing in his senior year against David Thompson in his senior year?
Sure.
For us old timers, sure. When Jabbar, as Lou Alcindor won 3 in a row, yeah, sure. But it's still the idea of one and done, which in sports, any game where one team's going to be eliminated and so will the other team if they lose, that's a fun game. And,
All right. Well, bring it on. NCAA, do your brackets, whatever you do. And before we go, just want to sneak in. I think, to me, the real golf season has begun.
Okay.
Like serious. We're heading towards majors and things like that because we just had the Players Tournament where they had an exciting finish. And the biggest name in golf wins the tournament, Rory McIlroy, in a 3-hole playoff that he had to play the next day. But I sort of start getting really into it now because we're heading towards the Masters.
yeah, I mean, the playoff was disappointing.
Right. Well,
but
yeah.
the ending to the tournament was really good.
Right.
And, Rory, he's not the number one player, but he's the most identifiable.
Yeah.
And his competition, what was his name?
JJ Spawn.
Sorry, Spawn. You had to feel for the guy. He had a great putt on 18 to win it, and it came up just short.
Yeah.
But he played very well until the playoff.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul, did you watch any of that? When do you start really getting into this whole golf season?
I watched the players.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I thought that in all my years watching sports on television, it was one of the most dreadful things I've ever watched.
Really?
I can't believe that people sit in a sports studio and think that Dan Hicks and Kevin, whatever his name is, are entertaining to listen to.
Oh, not
It's an,
entertaining.
it's an abomination. And the announcing is part of it. I'm sorry, it is. Otherwise, they don't need announcers. They could just
Right.
hire people off the street. They could say, "This is a par 4. It's 394 yards. He's hitting a 1 iron." Whatever. It it was unbelievably bad. And golf's got a problem. Some of these guys that are in the hunt in these tournaments are not names. I'm sorry. It's just some of the golf was great and it was interesting that hole over the water and the guy hit it in and all that, but I think golf's got a problem. They're going to have to figure it out.
So that leads into, before we go, that they need to get this deal done with the Live League and get all those other players in it. Is that what you're saying to me?
Well, I will say this. I'm not a fan of Live. As I've said,
Neither am I.
I don't know who was demanding 54-hole tournaments. I don't know who was demanding players wear shorts. I don't know who was demanding team golf when you're doing an individual tournament. I don't know who was demanding this from the fandom.
Nobody.
Having said that, I flicked it on for about 5 minutes this weekend. I'll say what I've said before. There's a heck of a lot of good players over there.
Oh, yeah.
There really is. The guy that won this week, Joachim Neiman, tremendous player. And we knew that from the PGA.
Yep.
I agree with you. They got to get this done.
Yep.
Bryson DeChambeau is a star. He's another guy. Like him, hate him, whatever.
John Rahm.
He's fun. John Rahm. They got a lot of good players over there. A lot.
So, but Paul, let me ask you this. What do you think they should do announcing wise that would, what would you be looking for?
Well, you have to, first of all, for years, the networks made it a point to have guys with personality. You had Ken Venturi, who would talk about his
Sure.
years on the tour and his relationships with players. You had Johnny Miller, who was kind of caustic, who would
Yeah.
not be afraid to say a guy screwed up or why did he choose that club? And not everybody liked that, but at least it kind of was compelling.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
have Nick Faldo, who was a bit of a blowhard, always talking about what he did or that somebody did. I, And then, Jim Nantz kind of has the voice you want to hear in a golf tournament.
Yeah, I agree with the Nance
I
thing,
just
yes.
think NBC, and I'll tell you something. I think NBC is by far. We could do 5 shows on NBC covering sports.
Yeah.
They are the worst. Their
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football
Oh.
is an atrocious product. And the fact that they're saying the NBA is coming home to NBC
Uh,
when we have been enjoying NBA on TNT for 30 years
yeah,
is another abomination.
right.
And we all grew up with the NBC on CBS, and we love that with Dick Stockton and Tommy Heinsohn.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know what NBC's where they get off saying the NBA is coming home to NBC. NBC is a train wreck on sports.
Yeah,
A
that's
train wreck.
I
For the
agree.
NBA, Kevin Holland, out.
What?
Brian Anderson, out.
Oh, because they are.
They're on TNT,
Yeah.
and they do football for CBS. At least Holland does, and maybe Anderson. Those are huge losses.
Oh,
Who
absolutely.
is NBC going to replace them with?
Mike Tirico.
I mean, he's fine, but he's not Kevin Harlan. He's
No.
not.
No,
BA.
Mike Tirico's doing Celtic games and kicking Drew Carter out so he can get practice.
Yeah,
This
right.
is
and I guess he's doing that
a
all around the league.
disaster.
It's just, yeah. And in golf, I'll tell you, I think the only guy with a little bit of a personality on NBC is Rhode Island's own Brad Faxon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he gives you a lot on putting
Yeah.
because he was a great putter. But
Right.
yeah, I've always thought CBS covered golf the best.
The best. Yeah.
And NBC has still not settled on who really replaces Paul Azinger.
yeah,
and
I know.
where what,
Right.
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah. They need, as Paul said, you need a personality in that booth to keep people interested in.
And I also agree with you. Nance is really, really good.
Yeah, he's the guy.
And he also
He's almost done though.
he's a college golfer, right?
Right,
With
yeah.
Freddie Couples.
Yep.
I mean, he knows that sport.
Yeah. All right. You know what? I think we're out of time, guys.
It's up to you, Ken.
I think we're out of time. I think we covered a lot, but good show. Thanks everybody for checking us out on your podcast, your YouTube, your TV station for the up and coming hottest show in America, Boston Sports Nuts. The awards will start flowing in before you know it.
When do you think that'll be, Ken?
Well, probably the next award season.
I see. Okay.
Okay, so hey, we're going to wrap it up. For Paul Izzo and Jim Russo, I'm Ken Berman. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Boston Sports Nuts.
That's funny.
Thank you for watching Boston Sports Nuts. You can find all of our episodes available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. For more information, go to westwoodmediacenter.tv or follow Boston Sports Nuts on Facebook, Instagram, and X.